Warning: this podcast discusses addiction, mental health, and other sensitive topics. Please listen with care and take a break if needed. You are not alone, and support is available.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Malfunction Junction.
Thank you for joining us.
This is Andrew.
This is Jay.
How's everybody doing? Jay, how you doing today?
We're getting through, man. It's been a pretty good day.
Getting through.
Ain't done too much, but that's kind of the nice ones, you know? Just been chilling. What about you, bum?
Man, today's been decent. I was telling someone at the coffee bar earlier today that I was like, actually, no, I know exactly what I was telling. I was telling Ozzy and Kaylin, is that his girlfriend?
Shout out.
Shout out those two.
Yep.
You guys are dope. I don't know. I just met you guys recently, but you guys are dope. I was just talking to them recently about how I did not feel like I got enough done today.
Mm-hmm.
And was hoping that by the end of this I would feel more accomplished. And I don't know if I will. Well, I guess we'll see.
This is all I'm doing today, and I feel plenty accomplished.
Sick.
So,
Nice. Yeah. Good for you.
Join in on that. It's a good feeling. Yeah. I thought you hit the wrong one.
Nope. I know which button I'm in. I do forget which one C is, though.
I have no idea.
Damn.
Is it the wah, wah, wah?
That's what it is. Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Cool deal.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. I didn't feel like I got enough done today, but we'll figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna go ahead and shout out last week's episode. If you have not checked it out, go check it out.
The role of community and recovery.
I believe that's what it was. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Good episode.
It was a good episode. I thought it was funny. So we'll shout that out. We'll also shout out our listeners in Kansas. And you want to mention the next one?
Singapore. I'm sorry, I couldn't not do it. I had, dude.
No, dude.
I don't even think I got that
we're
right.
Stoked you guys are here.
Yeah, we really do.
And Singapore is like one of those like multinational places, so it's like it could totally be some white guy in Singapore, and that's dope too.
I think outside of the U.S., Singapore is probably one of the most culturally diverse places in the world.
I think so. Yeah,
it's kind of like Istanbul.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
It's almost like I think it is officially a city-state.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, I mean, it's a very cool place.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Singapore get us tickets. We'll come do a podcast in your apartment.
I smoke dope, dude. I smoke weed.
Yeah, you can't do that there.
No.
No spit on sidewalks
They'll behead
either.
me.
I don't know about that. They'll cane you, I think.
No, I think it's. Listener in Singapore, could you write into us and tell us what the penalty is for weed out there? We don't know.
You're thinking of Pyongyang, North Korea.
No, I'm pretty sure Singapore. I'm a weed smoker. I know where will kill you for weed. It's Singapore. Singapore will kill you for weed.
Is that right?
I'm pretty positive of that.
Well, if that's not the case, we'll buy us tickets.
Yeah,
we'll go over there.
Yeah, if that's not the case, I'll come over there. I'll take a caning for that.
Yeah,
I could tell everyone back in the States I've been oppressed.
Yeah. Also, like you get a little. I could go for some white rice.
Yeah.
Chopsticks.
Dude, I love Chinese food. I don't know.
That's not.
I don't know what. I know that's not Chinese food, but that's. No. I know that I'm sure they've got some fucking good Chinese food out in Singapore.
It's like the like that congressional TikTok speech. He's like, "No, Senator, I'm from Singapore." He's like, "Are you sure you're not Chinese?" And he's like, "No." And he's like, "Have you ever had Chinese citizenship? You ever been to China?" And he's like, "Senator, I'm Singaporean." he just keeps asking him over and over again. Yeah, all right, we'll come out there. We'll grab some dumplings. It'll be a good time. We'll all have fun.
Yeah.
Cool deal.
Sick. Anyway, weekly check-in here.
Kind of hit that off right at the top there.
A little bit.
We're going a little more in depth here.
We'll go a little more in depth. Yeah, my week has been very busy. Mm-hmm. I've been incredibly swamped with the film that I'm making, which we'll get into at some point, and the company that I just started, all that type of jazz going on with that.
Shout out Crucible Media.
Yeah, shout out Crucible Media, the company I just started. We're running Night Cook, the film, through that in partnership with Pumpkin Hill Radio. Shout out the boys at Pumpkin Hill Radio.
Travis Dawson, what up?
What's all, dudes? Yeah, so how was your week other than you were clean but still a mess for the week?
It was cool. We had a couple of our busiest nights ever.
Yeah.
We had a lot of events this week. Did a bunch of stuff. If you're in the Denver area, come hang out at That's Kava.
Yeah.
We did a bunch of cool cash prize events. So that was fun. That was pretty much my whole weekend, though.
If you don't already hang out at That's Kava, because I'm pretty sure most of our listener base is based
probably
on
about
That's Kava.
90%.
Yeah.
And then somebody in Singapore. And one dude in Ghana.
One dude in Ghana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yep.
cool.
Yep. Shout out to you too, man. I don't know who you are.
I don't know if
hell
they're
yeah.
there or if they're using VPNs. If you're there, please send us a message. Please.
Yeah. If you're
Please
actually
DM
in
us.
Ghana, please DM us in one form or another.
Yeah, let us know how you heard about us. I would love to find that out. I have a feeling it's VPNs, but I don't know. If it's not, like I said, please message
Well, I
us.
also
I'd be
like
sick to hear from you.
I like put this show on like Reddit and stuff and like Facebook groups. And,
yeah.
like, so
Yeah, so
yeah.
if anyone is outside of the United States and you hear this episode, send us a little DM.
Yeah.
I'll DM you back.
We will. I'm very active on that.
Yeah, we send pics too, so.
Yeah, nudes.
Mm-hmm. Good time.
So we'll go ahead and talk about our favorite segment here, clean but still a mess.
Rolling right into the fun shit. Hell
And do you can go ahead and start here on what your clean but still a mess is.
Let me find a more PC way to approach this. So, I kind of found this out by accident, right? Maybe I, rewarded the behavior to some extent.
Yep.
But my dog has a humping problem, right?
Okay.
So, he used to hump. He's very dominant. So, he, always seeks out alpha males. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no. Yeah.
Uh-oh, not good.
Not good.
So anywho, he always seeks out the alpha male. So he tried to help me a few times when I first got him.
Yeah.
He helped all my friends, and then I'd be like, "Yo, dude, why are you always humping guys?" And he's dog, so he doesn't respond.
Right. Yeah.
But then I call him gay,
Yeah.
and he'd start going ape shit. He'd start barking at me and growling and stuff.
That's
I'd be like, dude, it's cool.
That's super funny.
I'm like, I don't judge you, but why are you
Not the whole. I mean, this is Pride Month, so we can't say too many things.
No,
but
it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad
it's
thing.
Funny that
it's just
he's
funny that he
because
reacts
he
to
is
that.
because he likes humping male dogs and he likes humping my friends.
That's very funny.
He doesn't go after the female dogs. My buddy brought over his yellow lab, probably 3 times his size.
Yeah.
He's like 40 pounds. His lab's like 100-ish.
Yeah.
Literally spent 30 minutes chasing this dog, pinning him to the ground, and just humping his shit out.
Oh shit.
Another male dog.
Damn.
And then my neighbor's dog's female.
Your dog is gay.
He's gay.
Yeah.
And it's cool. But when you call him
sure.
that, he goes fucking
ballistic.
nuts.
He's an in the closet gay dog.
Yes, he's deeply closeted, as Norm Macdonald would say.
Damn.
And refuses to admit it. And if you try and mention anything about it, he goes nuts. So I called him gay yesterday because he was humping me.
Right.
I said, bro, you're being gay. Get off me. He started barking. I said, dude, just accept that you're gay. And I said, get the fuck out of here. And I amped him up so much that he then proceeded to rocket off of my bed and break my nightstand, along with several of the objects on my nightstand, including a chest from my grandmother that I got.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I'm not a super sentimental guy when it comes to objects, but I was like, damn, I really need to focus on the way I'm training this animal.
Oh yeah. No, yeah.
The
Yeah,
responses
gotta,
I'm generating.
No, yeah. I have a dog too, and Amy, she has recently realized that she can get onto the counter because she's very tall. Mm-hmm. And
Nightmare fuel.
in the past, well, since my girlfriend and I, shout out Magdalene, has been together. Since we've been together, she has eaten. The dog has eaten off of the counter countless small items, but the large items included 2 raw steaks off the counter.
Full steaks.
And also the other day, a loaf of bread.
Nice.
A whole loaf of sourdough bread.
Nice. Good
from
for her.
Trompeau. Shout out Tanner over at Trompeau and Sam too. They hooked up. Oh, they actually hooked me up with some other bread after that too, because I told them my dog ate it.
You got sabotaged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No good.
We both have autistic dogs.
Autistic is a good word. My dog is very smart, but she's also very sensitive.
Yeah, I think they call them savants.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's funny. Yeah, that's
So it was a good time.
that's a good time to to realize that
I
you
don't know if I
may need to
mentioned
stop
this.
calling your dog gay.
Yeah, it was at 4 in the morning, too.
Oh yeah, that's
I don't think my neighbors were stoked.
no.
And I do wonder what it would be like if you could hear through the walls. I don't know if you can, because I haven't heard my next door neighbors, but I've also never seen them.
Right.
But to be next door and just hear like, you're gay. You're gay, dude. Get the fuck out of here. Bang, 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 bang. You know, like, it's got to be a really fun chain of events there.
Yeah, I bet.
So,
That's
yeah,
really funny.
We got through it. What was your week like for the still a mess bullshit?
So,
what are you cleaning up after?
While I do claim to be an adult man.
Loosely.
Loosely. I do claim this. I do claim to be an adult male. I did do a childish thing recently.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of the coffee bar the other day, I'm not going to say who, somebody was singing poorly. With a guitar.
And profusely.
And have you ever seen Animal House?
I know exactly where this is going.
I smashed his guitar. I fucking grabbed the guitar from him and smashed it.
Oops.
Oopsie
daisy.
I handed it back to him and I said, sorry. No, I didn't actually do that, but I did think about doing that, and it very, very, very vividly crossed my brain, and I flashed back to that film, and I was like, okay, I need to calm down and just show somebody this clip of this part of this movie, and yeah, I thought about smashing someone's guitar.
Yeah, the heart wants what the heart wants.
Yeah,
and bad music is one of those things that just I think immediately enrages the human soul.
Yeah, especially
because good music is so touching, you know.
Good music's the best, and it's just like bad music is tough, man. Especially when it's like my favorite thing to ask when we're at like karaoke and someone's singing poorly over at Kava. I always ask someone, "Is this the original?"
Yeah.
Because that's it's funny to say.
Here's my request.
Yeah.
Play easier songs. like just okay. Maybe you want to sing. Respect the fuck out of it. Maybe don't go for John Mayer, Louis Capaldi. Maybe go for Hot Cross Buns.
Sure.
Hot Cross Buns. Do that. Do the do re mi so
unless
fa
you're
la,
gonna
whatever.
be so bad that it's
funny.
Like
Shout out Jack.
Shout out Jack.
That me espresso.
Yeah, I did.
Love that man.
Yeah, he's the best.
But yeah, it's like you don't
not a
have
great
to
singer.
go for the top level performance.
But
if you
yeah,
can't sing,
that's-
don't do Adele. You know.
Right? Yes. Don't do someone that can sing. Don't murder their song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then it is nails on a chalkboard.
This is why nobody does Led Zeppelin covers.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Except Greta Van Fleet.
they don't even do the covers. They have their own songs. But
Is
it's
that
like,
what we're calling?
Yeah. I don't know. I like Greta Van Fleet for the most part.
So do
but
I.
Yeah, you're right.
But no, I'm with you 100% on this. It's just like we can tone down a little bit with some of this stuff. We don't need to be going for top rope, top shelf lyrics. And everything else.
Karaoke's a tough one.
It's exhausting. They're making me do Wednesdays now.
Oh,
shout
boy.
out the boy Manny. Thank you for giving me an extra shift. Truly appreciate you. But nice. That was a good echo. I got to work on my throws today, huh?
I guess so.
But yeah, for those karaoke nights can be a little brutal. To Nick or whoever's hosting, not that they would ever listen to this, to anyone who's close to him, turn the fucking volume down.
Oh, dude.
That's another thing. Is like
Now where you have to hear poor singing loudly.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But just the worst mixed vocals you could possibly ask for. Just 90% the actual singing and 10% instrumental in the background.
Yeah.
Being drowned out by the sound of a child being murdered. It's horrific.
That's basically what it is.
But I'm glad everybody has fun. Everybody has a good time, and that's what matters.
For the most part.
Yeah, you know.
Well, shit, we're There's 2 outs. We need to get this. We're watching the Giants game. Damn it.
All right.
Anyway,
let's go Phillies, dude.
Well, we got Jung Hoo Lee. I always want to call him Jung Ho Lee, like Young Ho. I always call him Young Ho. It's Young Wei. Shout out Young Wei Koo. You were the namesake of my fantasy football team this year.
Dude, we're one joke away.
Young Hoes. That was my.
Oh no.
Well, that's game.
All right,
Well,
peace.
shit. That's a damn shame. I'm gonna go ahead and turn that off. We'll get right back to this.
Now it's time to focus.
Now it's time to get really serious.
Locking in. Cool. All right, well, I guess we can jump on to the listener email here then, huh?
Yes, we can jump on to the listener email now. So the listener email this week, we scavenged far and wide for a good listener email. We had several.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out you guys. This one is from Jacob in California. We have another one from Morgan in Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Jacob here says, I grew up in a strict religious household, and now that I'm trying to get sober, I don't know where religion fits in. I want to believe in something, but I'm afraid of the guilt and shame I associate with religion. How do others navigate that? And I don't know if you want to go right into the second one as well, because it kind of fits in pretty well with, I'm sure, some thoughts we have on it.
Yeah, you want to read it?
Yeah, sure, I'll read it. It's people in my group. This is Morgan from Oregon. People in my group keep saying spirituality is different from religion, but no one can really explain what that means. I don't want to fake believe in something I don't connect with, but I also don't want to miss out on the healing that a lot of others seem to find. How do I figure out what spirituality means for me? Can you talk about how you both understand the difference between religion and spirituality in recovery, and if it's possible to recover without either?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, you guys, Jacob and Morgan.
Yes. Yeah, so I'll jump right into this.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to separate these 2 questions out a little bit here. The first one presents a little bit of a different complication to it than
Sure.
the second, obviously. But to get into that, I think that having the background of strict religion can create inherent complications to your own individual approach with
Right.
religion. And this is anything, right? It's just your subconscious bias. Like if you have this negative attachment to it, and the only connotation which you've ever experienced it in was something that was restrictive, trying to find something positive in it is going to be incredibly difficult. The other question, that nuance is one that we'll dive into a little bit, but that is such
Right.
a wide topic. Let's stick to this first one for a second here. I think that the hard part, and I'm going to double back. I guess we'll include a little bit here. The hard part with religion is depending on which religion you pick. Asking the question, saying I don't know where it fits in.
Right.
With certain religions, it's just not how it works. You fit into it,
Right, yeah.
You find your faith, and then everything delineates itself from that, right?
Sure.
I grew up in Christianity. I still have a lot of affection towards it.
Sure.
But that is largely the idea, right? It's not, well, I'm going to try and incorporate some of the values into my life to get a benefit from it.
Right.
It's I'm buying it.
Yeah, it's...
You know, and then as a result of that, you get all of these other kind of avenues opened up to you in the ways in which you heal.
Right.
And so now, instead of, your own dealing with it, there's this other, kind of hierarchical individual that you're able to turn to and say, I'm lost and I need help. So that is the kind of hard part if you don't, find yourself in a faith-based situation with religion. I think it's something that's awesome to look into and read into. And if you study theology on a really wide scale, there are aspects where you can incorporate some. This is where we start getting into more the idea of like spirituality or Unitarianism.
Sure.
And that you can incorporate these similar values you find across religions and kind of ideological sets. But if you don't say I have faith, trying to fit religion in is very difficult. If the question was, I'm finding faith in Christianity and I don't really know how to navigate that, that's different, right? Because then there's an exact set that it gives you all those rules and guidelines to the way in which you deal with it. But to go the other way around and say, well, it seems interesting, but I don't know, I'm not really sure about it. I can't offer much other than to say, read into it, see if you find faith in it. Otherwise, it's not going to fit in unless you're looking at it from a really wide lens.
Sure, and I guess for that type of person, I can understand where they're coming from
Mm-hmm.
a because of a lot of people that are in recovery, like it said, and I think it was the second question, but something about there's a lot of trauma in some people for religion. They think that, and there's also a lot of people that think that they weren't raised to have any perception of that.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people do find themselves in spots of recovery, and not all, but definitely some they find a tougher time dealing with, the addiction road. And, when you have no perception of how to deal with the religion or spirituality side of the recovery thing, and then you go into the rooms of AA and they're like, you need to have a higher power. And the other side of AA is that you need to submit to what is being said to you. You need to submit to the idea that you have a problem, and you need to, there's a lot of that. And people sometimes, number one, what turns them off of AA is that submission part of it, but that's part of it is so they get turned back into it, and then they get into this higher power thing, where it's like, I've heard of it described for people that are not religious and don't want to be religious. That I heard one person tell me, I don't remember who this was, but that their higher power was the ocean, because because it was something that was greater than them. They just had to come up with something that was greater than them, and that was the best that they could come up with. And I that's great. That's a great way of thinking about it.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson does a great breakdown of Jungian thinking.
Right.
And Carl Jung's philosophy is essentially that God is whatever sits highest atop of your order of priorities.
Sure.
And so whatever it may be in your life that you set as number one, that becomes the God in your life. It serves the function of God.
That's interesting.
And that's why, like, you can have, people that serve materialism or ideological things, or, you know what I mean? Like, they buy into these idols, because it is the thing which they care most about.
We see that
it is the thing which they seek to serve in some regard, even if that's not the way they phrase it.
Right.
It's what they build their life to accomplish or achieve. And so that becomes God to them. Because that, again, I think the part is that it trickles down. So if that serves as number one, your principles, your life choices, your purposes, where you find fulfillment, the roads you choose to navigate in order to get there, all of that stems from whatever is number one. And if it's not something that has inherently good principles or morals, it's something that will corrupt you, which is why it's so... I think Christianity gets that very right, is the idea of have no idols, right?
Yeah, that's, place nothing above God.
Mm-hmm.
I get where the spirituality thing is, or at least the religion side of things is tough, because I personally don't prescribe to religion.
Mm-hmm.
I do heavily prescribe to the spirituality aspect of things. And I did actually go into a little bit of what, I think I've gone into it before, but I went into it on the solo episode this week that is going to drop tomorrow from this recording date, so Wednesdays. And that'll be the going forward way we'll do that, is we'll have it drop Wednesdays. But I went into a little bit about what my perception of God was, at least slightly. And I think I've said it here before, but I call it the artist. And the only thing I can think of, I have no way of knowing. It's just slightly different to me from agnostic, and the only difference between it and agnostic, in my opinion, is that I do, in my mind, fully have faith that there is a God, But
I think the word you're looking for is amorphous. That like it's not this concrete, exact idea of what God is.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing I know about it is that it is an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And if we were created in its image, then that means I am as well, an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what like kind of drives me to create. That's what kind of drives me, which is what I try to place my God as is creation. And I don't do a great job of that always, but I do try to I try to think about that like when I need to go into like when I'm creating, I'm trying to, or writing or anything like that, or I try to have some sort of communication with that artist, because it shouldn't be myself. I don't know shit.
Right.
Like who is it? Which philosopher is it that says the only thing I know is that I know nothing?
I don't know. Is that Oh no, I'm not gonna guess.
I'm not gonna guess anything. Whatever it is, I know that that's a quote from a famous philosopher, and that's a great way of looking at it. Is I don't know any of this. There's no way of knowing any of this. This is all ethereal things that I don't have any perception of in my 3 or 4 dimensional, whichever way you look at it, reality.
Right. You're focused on being a conduit of like kind of channeling this this greater force or divinity, whatever, however you want to phrase it.
And it's definitely, it's something that a lot of artists I've heard talk about it. I think it's Stephen Pressfield with the book of The War of Art that talks about this, or it's the idea of the muse, and it's sitting down to do the work is what summons the muse, and that's something that any artist should focus on, is just doing the work. It doesn't matter what is coming out at the moment. If you can't think of anything, just sit down and do the work. Try to do the work, and something will come out.
Yep. So now what I'm curious about too is to kind of tie this into the functional aspect. A lot of artists struggle with different problems with addiction and mental health, right? I don't think that's any secret.
Right.
That many artists are kind of bleeding into their work. And in order to do that repeatedly, you have to keep cutting yourself open.
Right.
And so I'm curious for you, like, do you think that having this view of, again, this overarching artist being something that you channel, does that lead you away from these more like painful or brutal methods that tend to lead to like more addictive coping mechanisms? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
not quite. What do you mean?
So, just that with so many artists, they go to their pain, and as a result, then there's the coping mechanisms that arise from that, and then that's likely why you see such a high prevalence of addiction in these creative bases.
Yeah.
Whereas, like with you having this idea of God,
we're on a harm reduction podcast, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. It's just I just try to fucking do something that's not gonna kill me, dude.
Right. And so, like, you found something that's
I've found stuff that I've worked to find things through self evaluation that weren't necessarily going to harm me, and I'll be dead in 5 years type thing, because that's where I was headed, was I was going to be dead definitely by now. There's no way I was going to live to now. I was fucking dying, dude. And so I'm glad that I figured that out and all, but yeah, there is still there are times where I'll write something heavy and I'll have to go have I'll have to go fucking rip a bowl or something, or I'll have to go over to the coffee bar and drink something there or whatever. But I just have to stay away from the alcohol and the heroin and the meth.
Yeah,
but
that's
it's
fair.
And the cocaine too. God damn it! But it's yeah. I would love to be able to do all that, do drugs and drink again, but I know within myself that I cannot do that.
Right.
I will just die, and I know that
can't be Hunter Thompson.
I can't be Hunter Thompson.
That's
no
fair.
one
No
can
one
be Hunter
can.
Thompson. No. Hunter Thompson can be Hunter Thompson. He lived to be 64.
That's pretty amazing.
That's not that old.
No, but for what he did, that's old as fuck.
I guess so.
That's
dude.
crazy.
Straight up.
He
killed himself at age 64.
Yeah, he lasted a
up
while.
in Aspen. Woody Creek.
What was in Aspen?
Woody Creek, Colorado. Yep.
Shout
That's
out
right,
Colorado.
right up next to
State of
Aspen.
Psychos.
I've been up to that Woody Creek Tavern where he used to frequent every day. I've been there a couple times to eat lunch.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I go camp. I have a cool campus site up there. That
Sick.
is up in the boonies up there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I think it's very interesting how your kind of interpretation of God functions so differently than mine does. Because I think my version of God is more a delineation from Christianity.
We should go to war.
Yeah, do you want to do it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Dude, don't come on this couch. This couch was promised to me.
Yeah.
But like for me, my version of God functions more from monotheistic religions.
Right.
And so to me, I see, and this is where I think, going into the second question a little bit, that spirituality and religion tend to function differently, is that spirituality tends... We back.
We're gonna cut that out. Cut that part out.
I just don't.
No reason whatsoever.
My bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, the thing I think functions mainly differently about spirituality and religion. This is on a very general scale. There's a lot of nuance here. But most of the time, spirituality tends to function through the lens of God's omnipresence.
Right.
Right. It's more this shapeless idea of God as a force. Okay. Mm-hmm. So this is paganistic or
right.
Like a lot of indigenous beliefs that like I do things with the land, I do these practices. This is where karmic justice stems from. That I do certain things, and the force of God will return that in some capacity, right? I interact with it, and it interacts back with me. It's not about the relationship that exists there. It's about the function of doing that. And so it's the same with these ideas of like astrology or other belief systems that, again, are rooted in the idea that God's omnipresence means that all these things interact, and that as a result, my life has these forces, applied to it.
Okay.
I think that the nice thing about it is it allows for a more free-form style of morality and principles. And I think for specifically addiction recovery, it can be, at least from my view, a little bit more of a hairy situation because it's not, again, so much focused on the individual as it is on all things. Some people find that very, very rewarding. And they say, oh, well, I'm, connected to all things. I see the beauty in land, and then that makes me, feel comfortable or alive, happy, and then is able to take them away from these,
sure,
the route of human suffering, right? This kind of positive nihilism. Whereas with religion tends to function more around God's omnipotence. So this is the idea that God is all-powerful, and it is the will of God which functions most in our lives, not the presence of God.
Right.
And so we have to focus on directly appeasing that, right? And having a relationship directly with this idea of God. And rather than it being a force, it is more seen as an entity, right? That God is this kind of self-collected, an individual almost that is thinking and saying, well, I want this and I don't want that. And this is my intention for creating this, right? It's a fully functioning entity separate from humans, while in some way still in contact, right? But this is any monotheistic religion, any of the Abrahamic religions.
Right.
So, Judaism, Christianity, Islam. And I think the really positive part about it when it comes to addiction is that it creates structure. And I think this is largely what AA attempts to do. It is to create, again, like a hierarchy and to have something that, I know this is a unfavorable way to phrase this, but puts you in your place.
Yeah,
right?
There's definitely some part of that.
You know what I mean? It's this humility and this like reminding yourself of insignificance. And as a result of that, it creates this kind of moral outline for how to live your life for something outside of yourself.
Yeah, there absolutely is.
And that is the benefit.
I think that's its purpose. In that.
And that is the benefit of it, that it will give you structure. And I can see exactly why so many people find enjoyment and love in that. Is that it's like, all right, cool. As long as I hit these, I check these boxes and I live this way, I get rewarded for it. And I'm good. And I don't have to go through this really arduous process of trying to define my own sets of morality and principles and so on. This is what God wants, and I'm going to do that, right? And I totally understand that. The humility aspect is also a very rewarding and freeing feeling. Being like,
Sure.
I don't have to
and
be in
I
charge of
suppose
judgment.
maybe mine comes from my rejection of authority, but I don't reject an authority of a higher power, but I do think that it is more so within my I think that the ability to worship freely, like freely meaning that you can do it however you please
Without punishment.
without punishment.
Right.
But even to just be able to do it without however you please, and understand the higher power however you choose to understand it. I think that's something that to me that was really relaxing. Was that I can choose to understand this however I choose.
Right.
It is up to how it presents itself to me. And I kind of have a mix because I obviously was raised in monotheistic religion, and now that I'm older, I've found myself examining more things like polytheistic religions, and I haven't examined anything enough yet to really want to talk about it from that perspective of because I don't really understand most of their things, or specifically with polytheistic thing of Hinduism. I don't really.
Hinduism's a weird one.
It's a weird one, but it's like one of the most ancient ones. So it makes me think like how much is there, and also some of this stuff pops up in like psychotropic medications and psychoactive drugs. The ideas of these entities that appear in a lot of Hinduistic scriptures and
Hindus are interesting because it's probably, and somebody feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say that Hinduism is probably the most wide-ranging in terms of how members of the religion interpret it. So I've spoken to several people who say that they absolutely. So I used to, for clarification here, I worked for several years with underneath an Indian woman.
Okay.
Her family grew up part Hindi, part Christian. She had a lot of insight for me about her family in India and what that looked like. Her husband is also from there. Again, he grew up Muslim, I believe in.
Sure. Yeah.
I think Shia.
Okay.
I could be wrong about that. But again, they have this heavy influence, and so what her and I discussed is that there are people that are 100% believers in all of these individual gods that exist within Hinduism, right? Yeah, so, from my discussions with her, Hinduism can function as very concrete beliefs in these different gods and deities and beings, right? 100% polytheistic. And then there are other people that see them as different manifestations of the same thing.
Right. Yeah, which that's kind of...
It's polytheistic in appearance,
but
but monotheistic in true function.
Sure.
And then there are people that don't believe in any of it.
Right.
And this is kind of similar to like some people in Judaism, which is that they kind of are more of the cultural aspect.
Sure.
So they consider themselves Jewish or Hindi by culture and practice and belief.
Yeah.
Right. Still go to temple, but maybe not actually believe in any of these gods. Now, I think that regardless of what perception you have of that type of belief, even transposed to the larger discussion of whether or not you want to believe in a specific faith or multiple faiths, or not really in any of them, but kind of in all of them, however you choose to pick, I think the point is to find humility and some aspect of interconnection into the things around you. When it comes to addiction recovery, I think those are the fundamental core concepts to finding purpose in life. And that is at least in my mind, that is the pathway to being away from addiction. It's to have something that is inherently purposeful. Because doing anything which is a detriment...
I think that's one of the ways, yeah.
Well, in my mind, even the quote-unquote alternative routes are still fall under that category. Because if you have a
purpose definitely, because I agree.
And so it's like if you do something detrimental like addiction, well, then that's leading you away from your purpose, inherently bad.
Yep.
And if you, say, well, I want to serve this purpose, well, then you have to find the way that's most apt for that, and that's going to be doing things that are harmful.
Right.
So whether it's because you believe that there is this overarching sense of justice and morality prescribed by God, and therefore it's wrong to do things which are self-harmful, or you see yourself as being interconnected to all things, and so therefore you must not do things. You'll find a way. But if you don't have humility in it, and this is what is called spiritual narcissism, this is essentially creating your own spiritual beliefs, making them we talked about this a little bit before the podcast, right? Having this objective mindset that, like, well, I don't believe in any organized religion, but I believe in astrology, and I believe that this happens in life after death, and da-da-da-da.
Sure.
And you're just absolutely out of the way of communication in terms of negotiating such ideas, because you're so concrete about it. And it's like, well, how'd you come up with that? You haven't died. How the fuck do you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, and I can relate slightly to that, of having an idea of my own thing, but it's also based off the idea of I could be totally wrong.
Well, and I think that your idea is a freeform one, largely. I mean, I think you do it the closest to the quote, God is what we call God is what we call the blanket, which goes over the mystery to give it shape.
Right.
That it's the artist. What is that?
Yeah.
Does it think? Does it have this exact function? Does it prescribe morality? I don't know. It could shape this, and I think it matters in this way. This is how I try and use it. Right. But it's not that this is exactly what it is. And that is where spiritual narcissism comes in. Because then there's nothing which can tell you you're wrong. There is nobody who can judge you or discern your actions.
Put yourself up at the top without any like qualifications. Yeah, essentially,
like the fucking dirty hippies, dude.
Those
little wooks, dude.
Those goddamn
creating
hippies.
Their own goddamn rules and then fucking judging me by it, making fun of Christianity and telling me I gotta get a goddamn crystal. All right, brother,
shove that crystal up your ass.
You already
Boof
know it.
That motherfucking crystal.
Hey man, like Christianity's like bad, man. Have you ever read into like fucking indigenous beliefs? And I'm like, go hang out on the reservation. See what they think of you, huh?
Yeah, straight up. What are they going to think of you, hippie?
Yeah.
They're going to tell you to leave.
Telling me you fucking Pashmina is spiritual. How about I bring that farmer from Afghanistan over here?
Oh boy.
Inshallah, brother, we have finally created another one. Our family will be fed. Dad, I went on TikTok. Look how they're wearing. Some fucking poor Rashid just goes online and sees a bunch of white chicks and G-strings and pasties wearing his beloved pashmina. What are they doing to our culture?
No. That's hilarious.
Dude, if the fucking people who made these things with God in mind came and saw what you were doing to it, holy shit, their heads would explode.
Oh my God.
They die on sight.
Well, most of these people would murder everybody in the building and then die on sight.
Yeah, I mean, it may have happened all at once. I don't know, man. But it wouldn't be good, I can tell you that.
God damn, dude.
And that is one of the core concepts of like this, where spirituality and religion, I think, can lead you astray and kind of justify negative coping mechanisms, which is that you have this sense of self-righteousness about how to act while being condemned by nobody. The thing with organized religion is at least there is
a condemnation,
right?
From either the congregation or God.
Yeah,
mostly God, but also the congregation.
Yeah, you can't just do whatever you want. There's the rules that you must abide by, and then there's community in that. And I think that's an aspect too we could tie back in the last episode. We haven't really talked about enough yet. Is that the really nice thing about both of those lanes is that it almost always provides community.
Right.
And you get these people that see the world in a similar lens, and then you're able to find, people that will push you forward in your whatever, again, how you describe your purpose. Yeah, you have this kind of congruency there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, all right. You got anything else on that topic? A lot, but still, like...
The one other thing I'll add that I think if anyone listening is deciding that they're going to go down a path of investigating more into the spirituality aspect and this really kind of wide open field, I would say bear heavy caution to the conflation of spiritualism and spirituality. They are two very different concepts. Spirituality comes from, I believe, the Latin word. It may be Aramaic, but it means God of the flesh.
Okay.
And it's what you find in the Bible, the Holy Spirit. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So this is the idea that God lives within you, and you channel that, and by doing good or by acting in such a way, you're able to come in contact with that. That is spirituality in essence. This idea of acting whatever you think God is, it's interacting with that in a way that brings that forth and acting from that instead of the flesh. I think largely a good thing. Spiritualism is the idea that practices serve, and that spirituality can kind of be more or less to the individual. This is, again, a core concept of the narcissistic aspect that you have to be really careful for. That, like, if I do more practices, if I spend more time meditating and doing crystals and, reading my horoscopes, that I am more spiritual than you because I'm more in touch with those things.
God, I hate that.
And that is spiritualism. It's a practice-based philosophy, and it is, in my opinion, incredibly dangerous for people who are not incredibly well-grounded in life. If you are struggling with addiction, I'd say stay the fuck away from that.
If you think that's just going to answer your problems,
no.
Yeah,
but that's the problem with it, is it will tell you
any of this shit though. If you think praying without action behind your prayers is gonna fix your problems, and you're wrong.
Yeah, that's where, like, you get the people that say, like, well, I am God and I'm a god and I'm a goddess, and it's like, well, no,
don't get
there.
That's
that ain't the lens you want to take if you're trying to improve.
They used to lock people up for saying that.
They used to fucking tie him to goddamn cement bricks, make him swim with the fishes, dude.
Yeah.
Luckily, we're a much more
organized society.
Yeah. And now we would never harm people over religious beliefs.
Never.
Especially not.
You almost said it. Anyway, let's get on to the next part. I wouldn't go there. Again, we can get going for that one. Never mind.
I don't know. I want a bagel.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the next segment here. How am I just hearing of this? This segment is where we go into the stuff that we didn't know in our addiction, didn't know in active addiction, but we do know now. And one thing, this is something I learned within the past year. I won't say exactly when. It was this week. I don't have to get angry at everything just because it doesn't go my way. Yep. I don't have to get angry at these things. At things that aren't necessarily how I do things.
Mm-hmm.
Not even necessarily specifically with other people in terms of what they do with themselves. I don't care at all. Other people, when they try to affect what's going on in my world and say that what I'm doing is wrong and that what they're doing is right, when I feel very strongly that they are wrong. And I don't think I'm right all the time, but I think I'm more right than them on some of these things. I don't have to get angry at these things. I can just take a deep breath, say, shut up, Andrew. It'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. Let them dance.
Let them dance.
Let them play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star on the acoustic. They're having a good time.
Please don't play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star on the acoustic. I will smash your guitar. I will do it.
No, you don't have to get angry, brother.
Yeah, I guess that's right.
You are in control of your own emotions.
Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star is going too far.
It's better than fucking Heartbreak Warfare.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Yeah. There's some bad songs out there, dude.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
Quite a few.
Yeah. Okay.
Controlling your emotions is an incredibly powerful concept, though.
It's a tough one.
And I think a big thing, too, helps with so much. Definitely helps with things like addiction and whatnot. It's the idea of just taking responsibility for your emotions. You know, even if you can't necessarily control them at all times.
Right, yeah.
Just saying, you know what? I'm upset. That doesn't mean that, like, you upset me and you're therefore responsible for that. Like,
I've been trying to get better.
It's my reaction.
Right, yeah.
And so I have to own that. And if I am upset, I have to be able to justify that in some way and then say, do I want to take action on it? No. Well, then I probably shouldn't have a negative emotion about it.
Right,
Because now it's only hurting me, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If people are going to live their lives differently, you're going to be stressed the fuck out.
Yeah, if you're going to worry about what other people are doing 100% of the time, then you're going to be stressed out 100% of the time. Worry about yourself.
Yeah, trust me.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add to that?
No, you can go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm going to read a quote from, I think I'm pronouncing this right, Epictetus.
Okay.
I don't think it's Epictetus, but could be wrong about that. And there's 2 T's in there. Epictetus?
I do think it's Epictetus.
Cool. But fantastic ancient Stoic. 1,000 good quotes. If you haven't read into Stoicism, should have mentioned this earlier. If you're on the kind of verge of spirituality and religion, Stoicism, fantastic option. Mainly because it isn't a religion. It's more along the lines of like Confucianism. It's more belief-based.
Sure.
And it's all through logical principle, or like ethical debate style. So if you aren't looking for something that is necessarily a higher power, but something that does provide structure to your life, good principle, etc., Stoicism, fantastic option. Epictetus is one of the greats. Go read some Marcus Aurelius, Julius Caesar. There's some good stuff out there. The quote is, "There's only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of will." This is right in line with what you're talking about. I read the quote earlier this week, but it almost the exact same lens of what we just discussed a second ago,
yeah.
Which is that, if there's another great quote that goes hand in hand with this, which is, if you're worrying about something and you can control it, and if you can't, then why worry, right?
Right.
So it's like there's never a reason to freak out about something unless you have the power to control it, and then just change it. You know what I mean? There's another one that more suffering happens in the mind than anywhere else, but all of these ideas function around the same core concept, which is that if you're stuck on trying to control something that it will forever be outside of your control, you will drive yourself mad. There's no way out of that.
Right.
So yeah, that's about it. That's all I got for that one.
Word.
You want to move right into the next one?
Yes, our last segment here before we get out of here. We're going to go into our song of the week again. And mine is going to be this week a Tyler Childers song, Dead Man's Curve. I listened to a lot of that one pretty recently. And the lyric I really like, and there's a longer part of it, but I reckon if I chose to stay, it'd be better for a few more days. But in the end, it always rains, and honey, you can cause a storm. But I'm tired and soaking wet and hunkered over trying to catch my breath. Broke my back and did my best to hold you through the shakes. But it's hard to keep floating on a foundered dream, and you're taking in water at a crazy speed. How can I get to the shore on time if you won't keep afloat? And I don't know why that one in this week in particular came up in my mind, but that's every toxic relationship I've ever had where drugs were involved. Is how can I get to the shore on time? How can I get what I'm supposed to do in my life if you are just sitting here dragging me down and you won't float for yourself?
Yeah.
If you won't keep afloat, how am I supposed to care for you?
There's another great song you should listen to called Anchor by 49 Winchester.
Okay.
It goes hand in hand with that. But by the way, what a fucking songwriter, huh?
Well, yeah, he's great. He's got some real talent at that.
Fantastic lyricism.
Yeah, he's really great.
Because that is, all of that is.
That's what all that is, yeah.
100% relate to.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's brutal witty. But,
yeah.
Anything else?
No, that's all I got.
Cool, man. My song of the week is going to be Let It All Work Out by Lil Wayne.
Oh, Wheezy.
Lil Wayne, Wheezy.
Yeah.
But that song's fantastic. Very big for me during a couple of the darker depressive episodes I had in early adulthood. Let It All Work Out. The name is pretty much fully suffices. The song goes a lot more in depth into his attempted suicide and whatnot.
Sure.
But it's simply about finding positivity, giving things a chance. I think both of us have kind of done that through some very dark periods and just saying, fuck it, like, give it a shot.
Give it a shot.
That's kind of what got me to stick around is, well, I guess I don't know for sure, so let's see what happens here.
Right.
And, it's...
Keep watching the movie.
Are there days that I want to just go ballistic? Of course. But at the end of the day, I'm very
almost
grateful
most
that
of them.
Yeah. the vast majority. But the days that are good outweigh it, and I'm glad that I'm still here. I didn't expect to be.
Yeah, me too, man.
Here we are.
Yeah,
doing a podcast on a couch.
Yep.
Fucking watching baseball.
Yeah.
It's a good life.
Giants lost, but whatever.
Yeah, we make the most of it. Yeah. And they'll win one of the 162 they got this year.
They've won 33 of them so far.
How about the Rockies?
11. They won today. They won their second in a row today.
Hey.
They won yesterday too, and they won also today.
Fuck, tickets are gonna go up.
I know, dude.
Fuck,
I'm going on the 12th to see the Giants when they come into town. So that's cool.
How much are tickets?
I paid. Shout out Rich at the Kava Bar. He gave me. He has season tickets and he hooked it up because he was going to be unable to go. He was going to take me, and then he was like, "I'm not going to be able to go. Do you just want the tickets?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I do." They're fucking great seats, and yeah, I'm stoked for it. But that's really all I got.
Yep.
I guess we'll end out on the normal things of go follow our Instagram.
Malfunction Junction Podcast, baby.
And go ahead and email us, malfunctionjunctionpodcast@gmail.com. And the last thing I got on here is if you can help out with this, please do. I put the link into the bio, but we have started a GoFundMe for Night Cook, for our film that we're making in conjunction with Pumpkin Hill Radio, with Crucible Media. And if you can donate to it, we can use anything you can get. Give $1, whatever. Anything goes to help. We are trying to pay the people that I have working for me on this film. I'm going to be the last one to get paid here. I don't believe in taking a paycheck until everybody else has been paid their fair share. So I will not be taking that unless we get our full goal of $10,000.
And that is Night Cook.
It's called Night Cook, yes.
And then my upcoming documentary about my real life called Night Eater.
Night Eater.
All
right, well, we'll get out of here. Thank you, everybody.
Let's do it.
Hopefully you guys listen to this shit.
Yep, appreciate it.